So let's run through a quick stock up, stock down here of some of the key performers that we had an eye on in this game between the United States and Japan. We got to start, Herc, since it is your show and you are a number 9. At number 9, Jesus Ferreira got the start today. Did his stock go up, or Herc, did it go down?
It went down, and I'm worried if I'm Jesus Ferreira. He's one of those guys taken out at half, right? For a very informed and hot Josh Sargent.
Yep.
You're a number 9. You can do all these things that we hear that Greg Berhalter values out of Jesus Ferreira, the interpretation of space, the movement, the ability to combine and get others mixed in.
Are you going to tell me goals are important?
Goals are important. and I will tell you this. Guess what?
Yeah.
Goals change games. You score that goal, now the U.S. men's national team is 1-0 up, and it's
early
Japan.
In that game.
It's Japan who has to chase the game. Yeah. It's Japan who now has to deal with the way the U.S. men's national team dictates the play. This is a very scoreable header.
I mean, give me that, the delantero, the forward's perspective. Like, how bad a miss is that?
This is a dream ball by Serginho Dest. Your eyes get big right here. He connects on the way down. Okay?
Just mistimes the jump, right?
Mistimes the jump. It's by no means a ball. 9 times out of 10, that should be in. And I think he understands that. And it's unfortunate for a player like him who's under the microscope, especially with guys like Jordan Pefok not in camp.
Yes.
That gets magnified. Goals change games, Sebi. So this is a stock down.
Yeah, I feel like with Ferreira, we've had moments of good, but we haven't had that moment of great yet. And every opportunity here that goes by opens the door for somebody else. Do you feel like Josh Sargent moved his stock at all in the 45 minutes that he got?
It's a difficult task to come on at half and play when you're chasing the game.
He didn't have a big miss, so it's certainly not stock down.
No, it's not stock down. It's about neutral. But if you're Jesus Ferreira or a fan of Jesus Ferreira, you'd be left wanting more.
Yeah, and I think also with Ferreira, you got to think of it. He got the start today. That tells us somewhere where he is in the pecking order for Greg Berhalter. I don't think he's going to miss the flight to Qatar for that miss, but it might cost him some minutes when we come to the World Cup. All right, let's get to our next stock up, stock down. Let's go to the center backs. Aaron Long and his partnership with Walker Zimmerman. What do you think of Long tonight, Herc?
Oh, man.
Well, that doesn't sound good.
And I don't even know if I should be putting this on Aaron Long because it's Greg Berhalter putting him in this position. Aaron Long and Walker Zimmerman aren't asked to do these things at the level and at the frequency that Greg Berhalter is asking these center backs to play out of the back. And they're making mistakes for it. The center backs put the midfield and the U.S. men's national team in constant pressure today. It's a stock down for Aaron Long because you've got other guys like Chris Richards. You've got other guys like Mark McKenzie, who maybe 1 or 2 plays where he could have done better. Was a decent option off the bench. But when you've got such clatter outside of the picture for guys like John Brooks, for guys like
number one John Brooks supporter here on Futbol Americas.
Guys even like Tim Ream. You've got a large sector of the fan base and pundits screaming for Tim Ream that are actual passing backs. It forces you to think of what could happen. Even a Cameron Carter-Vickers, who was. I
feel like the guys that didn't play today saw their stock go up. Because even Walker Zimmerman, I don't feel was great. On Long, though, there was a couple times the goal scorer, Kamada, literally started on one side of him and then was goal side.
Getting in constantly behind him.
Yes.
And he's a physical presence as a center back, and he's by no means slow, but he was slow to react today.
Yeah. I feel like this is where you're seeing right now the importance of the Chris Richards injury. Missing him in this camp, this would have been the moment for Chris Richards, fresh off the Premier League move, to grab that spot next to Walker Zimmerman. He's going to miss the opportunities, and now it almost, as it has for a while, almost feels like Aaron Long by default.
It does feel by default, because Walker Zimmerman, in a way, was probably your sans Miles Robinson, but that's not going to be a possibility. Was probably your best center back throughout the World Cup qualifying process. So he's a lock. I think the majority of fans and pundits would say that Walker Zimmerman is the lock right now at the center back position. It's who accompanies him. And Aaron Long had an opportunity missed today. And I don't necessarily know if that's his fault, asking him to play a way that he's not accustomed to week in, week out.
How important is that? I mean, is it really something that's that difficult to do? These guys can play long balls, right?
That's not what Greg Berhalter's asking him to do. Greg Berhalter is asking these guys to play cleanly out of the back. And you saw the forced turnovers today from the Japanese national team. And I'll say forced in quotations. I mean, they put the U.S. men's national team center backs in a little bit of pressure. And if I'm an opposing coach or an opposing player, I'm saying, listen, I would rather Walker Zimmerman or Aaron Long have the ball and handle the ball than I would a Sergiño Dest. Sergiño Dest is a terrible defender. But with the ball at his
Terrible,
foot,
that's harsh. You said terrible? You said terrible.
he's a terrible defender. But with the ball at his feet, he's a very good passing back. He's a very dangerous passing back. There are times when the speed of play, speed of thought for Sergiño Dest going forward is so fast, it takes time for other players to catch up. But defensively, that's where it's slow.
It's easy here to pick on Aaron Long. I think a lot of the moments where the central defensive pairing looked weakest were actually off turnovers from other parts of the field. So it doesn't always trickle down to the center backs, even though they're the ones that usually have to end up cleaning it up. Let's look elsewhere on the back line right now. Sam Vines, I think for a lot of people was kind of a surprise name on this list. He gets the start at a very important position with Anthony Robinson out. So, did his stock go up or down?
It went down. I mean, there was a...
I feel like that's just the vibe of this game, right?
No. Let me tell you this. During the broadcast, John Champion mentioned Sam Vines, and I was like, Sam Vines is in the game.
Yes,
He's on the field. I forgot that he was on the field. And when you're a player, a bubble player, trying to get on that plane, you can't go unnoticed.
Yeah.
You cannot go unnoticed in one of the two last opportunities that the U.S. men's national team has to showcase, or that you have to show your abilities before the World Cup, Seb. You cannot go unnoticed. Good or bad, he went unnoticed in that first half. And then in the second half, he went noticed for not so good reasons.
Right.
This is a stock down.
So, the entire first half, and here's the play, it was in the 44th minute. So we literally had to wait almost until the end of the first half to see Sam Vines get into the attack. Is that really something we can put on Vines, or is that just more the nature of this game, that your left back, when you're pinned back, is not going to get involved? Obviously, he needed a great performance, and obviously when we see what Anthony Robinson brings to the position, it's a guy who's comfortable getting forward, smooth left-footed balls. We got none of that from Vines.
I oftentimes leave myself asking if Greg Berhalter is asking too much of his players in this system. And what I mean by that is there was a time in that broadcast when Taylor Twellman mentioned that Sam Vines is now operating as a left winger.
Yes, in the second half.
So the intricacy, how complicated he makes it for certain players who may not be used to it or may be above their understanding can hinder this U.S. men's national, can hinder the team at certain times, and Vines look lost at certain times today.
Yep. So Sam Vines, stock down then, kind of stock up for Joe Scally. Let's see if he gets some action in the next game.
Way stock up for Anthony Robinson.
For the depth chart spot behind Anthony Robinson at left back.
Well, thank you very much for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming, premium content, and let's not forget as well, ESPN FC 7 days a week. Subscribe to ESPN+.